Thank you, Lizzie, so much. And I just want to give a shout out before I jump into all of this to beYogi and Offering Tree. I am super particular with who I partner with as a business and who I attach my name to. And these two companies are amazing. So if you don't know who they are, go check them out. They're amazing. Continue to show them love. They're just incredible. And I highly recommend both of them. And most of the yoga teachers that I work with, I send immediately to Offering Tree for all the marketing things because I'm like, they make it so easy. It's all in one. You don't have to connect all these tools because I usually get the questions of like the tech headaches. And so Offering Tree really does that. And beYogi with the education is just remarkable. So thank you both for supporting me and for supporting all of the people that you do. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen real quick and jump in because this is what we're talking about today. And I will check in on the chat, but I also recognized, Lizzie, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, please, that there's a Q&A button on the bottom of the screen. And if you have a question, make sure to use that. And that way we won't miss your questions. So today we're talking about uncovering your confidence. And this is a topic that it's really new for me to be talking about because it's been on my heart for quite some time. But as we all know, we navigate entrepreneurship and it just is a lot. And sometimes your confidence takes a hit. And so this is something that I'm really excited to share. So I want to hear all of the, the thoughts in the chat for sure. So if you're anything like me and most people that I work with, since you gave yourself the title of CEO or boss or whatever your your official title is in your business, you gave yourself that title of entrepreneur and you feel like anyone could take it away at any moment. And I don't know why this is. I don't have that answer. But for some reason, when someone else gives us a title, if you've had job interviews and someone says, congratulations, we want to offer you this job, and they give you the title, we don't second guess it. But if we give ourselves the title, the moment something goes a little wonky, we immediately second guess that title because we gave it to ourselves. And so if you're like me, put in the chat, say yes. I feel like someone could take it away at any moment. Like I feel like someone's just going to walk through the door and just take that title away because you're not alone. I've heard this before, and I definitely have felt it myself. So I am Amanda McKinney. If we have never met before, I am so thrilled to meet you today. I am so excited to be in your corner and helping you build the business that you really want to. And I am an accidental entrepreneur who gave myself that title and is worried someone's going to take it away too. So we're all in this together. And like Lizzie said, I'm a marketing coach, I'm a podcast host, but I'm also a lot of other things. I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom, I'm a stepmom, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm a lot of other titles. And I say that because so are you. And we have to remember that when things aren't going as well in our business, we immediately start second guessing that. But what probably happened is you put more emphasis on another title you have. And that's a great thing because that's why you are an entrepreneur, so that you can do that. So, the way that this topic really came to mind was last year, or it was in 20, yeah, last year in 2021, I had a wake up call. And the wake up call was I was chasing someone else's dream. I was not chasing my own. And if you looked at my financial records, if you looked at the podcast downloads, if you looked at my social media engagement, my email subscribers, if you looked at any of those numbers, you would say, Amanda, you're doing so well. Like in 2021, I had a really great year. For all, if you just looked at it on paper, I had a really great year. But I had a moment where my business coach asked me why I was trying to hit a specific number so badly. And I had the moment of I didn't have the answer. Like I was like paralyzed. And I realized that it was because I thought I had to, because everyone else was talking about that same number. And I realized that I was chasing someone else's dream. And it was such a wake up call that it really made me think about so many different things in my business and how I wanted to move forward. And not to say everything is perfect today, but I can tell you that I am in much better connection to my own dream. And so that's why I have such a passion for sharing this now, because I don't want you to fall into the trap like I did. Or, we might all fall into that trap. It's not necessarily like problematic if you do it. It's let's catch it early. Let's catch it early and then move forward. So today we're going to talk about defining success in your terms and why that's so important. Discovering how you work best so that entrepreneurship really integrates into your life instead of taking it over, because that's probably why you became an entrepreneur, is to have all this flexible freedom in your life. And then all of a sudden it's like it's your whole life. And then uncovering that confidence is the final thing we're going to be talking about so that you can really be confident in the entrepreneur that you want to be. The first thing is to stop shooting yourself. I want you to think about how many times you've had a fantastic idea that you were so excited about, but you didn't follow through with that idea because you thought about what you should be doing. Maybe you were scrolling through social media and you realized, oh, so and so is doing that better, or so and so is already doing that. So why should I even try? The thing is that we can really get in our head with these things. We get in competition with others that it doesn't even matter what they're doing. It matters what we want to be doing. And it really gets in our way. And so I want to encourage you to, instead of shooting yourself, really focusing on defining for yourself instead. So I want you to think about this. What does success look like and feel like to you? And I really want you to do this. Now, I can't see you, so I'm just going to trust that you're doing this. But I want you to close your eyes and think about the last time you felt successful. Now, I don't care if this is in business, in life, in fitness, in health, in relationships, like it doesn't matter where you experience this successfulness. When was the last time you felt successful? Really think about that. And it's the first thing that comes to your mind. I want to tell you about an experience I recently had, which really describes this for me. And I want you to think about your own. What I realized about myself is that I feel super successful when I finish a project. I love myself a good list and a project management tool. And when I can say, check, I did it, I feel so good. I love it. I love finishing something. But the thing that really feels successful, that really brings it together, is when I can finish a project and spend time with my friends and or family. You're seeing a picture on the side of the screen here of some awesome veggies on a patio with a glass of wine. And I took this very intentionally because on this day, I don't remember exactly what day it was, but on this day, I finished a project for work in time for that day to go to my friend's house and have wine and veggies on her patio. And I captured this moment because I wanted to remember how successful I felt. I wanted to just really revel in this because for me, it was the balance. I was able to walk away from my computer and feel really good about what I did, but I walked away from my computer at a time in which I could still go have patio time with my friend. Now, this may not be what success looks like and feels like for you. It doesn't matter. I'm giving you my example because it doesn't matter what success is for me. It only matters for you. So I really want you to think about that. And here's the really interesting question that I think a lot of people talk about success and what it is and what it feels like. Not as many people talk about this one. What boundaries do you need to put in place in order to reach that version of success, your version of success? Because that's the thing that throws most people off. Like I said, I've been thinking about this for over a year, and I've really started to ask a lot of people questions, and boundaries comes up a lot. Boundaries are so important for reaching whatever you are trying to achieve. Now, here are some examples of boundaries, but again, yours could look very different, but it could be a time limit, realistic timelines. I don't know about you, but I was pretty terrible at this when I first started my business. I didn't know how long it took me to create something or to work on a project with a partner or whatever. I was pretty terrible. I had to take a guess, but you start somewhere and you move forward. I know now so much more about a realistic timeline. Also, saying no. Maybe you're good at this. I am not. So I've had to learn how to say no. And sometimes it's still uncomfortable. Sometimes I get it wrong, but that's something that I've really had to work on. Digital detox. Some people really have to do this in order to get something done or to achieve that success that they really are striving for, taking some time away from all the screens. I have a resource for you, and it's episode number 150 on my podcast. So, my podcast name is Marketing Yoga with Confidence. And who you're seeing here is one of my students, Pia. And I actually worked with her one on one. And gosh, I saw this in action and I was just impressed, is not even the word I would say. I was just in awe over how she did this. And so I had her come on the podcast and talk about her 8+8+8 framework. Now, she doesn't claim to have created this. She learned it along the way, but she made it her own. And it's so cool how she does this. And I see it in real life because, again, I was coaching her and I saw her, like, she would tell me no as her coach. No, I can't take that on because it's going to extend me too much past my limit, or whatever the case was. She does a great job of explaining this. So I'd really recommend that you go listen to this if you're struggling with that idea of boundaries in your life. And if you listen to this episode and you start feeling defensive, like, well, it would be nice if that could happen, or she must have the perfect life, I want you to check that. And the reason I say this is because this is one of those podcast episodes that I got quite a bit of pushback on at first. Then everyone came around. I got the pushback of, well, I just can't do that. My life is more busy than hers. And here's the thing, more of it comes down to making it work for you rather than trying to make Pia's framework fit your life, like fit exactly how she says it. I want you to listen to her framework and see how it can work for you and then really make it your own. And that's the real thing here, is like understanding what you need is so huge. So once you have really defined what success is and you understand what boundaries need to be put into place, then I want you to embrace the motto that, if you know me, you've heard it before: done is better than perfect. Because, my friend, perfect doesn't exist. So, why in the world are you and me chasing it? Why do we think we can create that perfect social media post or that perfect website? Done is better than perfect. And so I really want you to remember this the next time you think, oh, I'm not going to put that out because it's not perfect. Because I want you to think right now of how many things are sitting on your computer desktop or in your notes in your phone, of ideas for things that you've never taken action with because it wasn't perfect. How many people could you have impacted with that message? Because I guarantee you, if you have learned from anyone in the online space, that they probably did the same thing, but you're glad that they put that blog post out, that they put that podcast episode out because it helped you. Was it perfect? Heck no, it wasn't perfect. Nothing is perfect, but you learned from it and you're grateful for it. You have people that are waiting to hear the message that you have. And so I want you to get it out, whatever that looks like for you in your business. So instead of striving for perfect, you're looking for done, because done allows you to learn along the way. Because B plus work that helps someone is better than A plus work that just sits on your computer. I feel like that's the mic drop moment right there. And I hope you felt it, because it's really an important one for sure. So now we've talked about looking at when you felt successful, right? I want you to go back to that moment, that you felt successful. And I want you to ask yourself, what worked about it in that situation? How did I get to that success moment of, like, yes, I nailed whatever that is? Like, how did you get there? Because understanding how you work best is going to allow you to make progress, which is what you're aiming for. Now, you see these messages here on the screen, and I know that we do not live in a perfect world, and you can't have the house to yourself all the time. I recognize that, neither can I. But here's what you want to do: find what works best for you. Maybe it's the house to yourself, maybe it's an amazing playlist, or different types of time blocks, or a Saturday morning in a coffee shop. What works for you? Now, I know you can't have it all the time, but when you need to finish something, when you want to finish something, you can call that information back into your mind and say, okay, you know what? Next Saturday, I'm going to go to that coffee shop for 3 hours and spend that time. What do I need to do to make that happen? Okay, I need to find childcare. Okay, I need to tell my partner. I need to cancel on something else. I don't know what you need to do to make it happen, but you can figure out how to make it happen when you need to. Maybe it's not every Saturday, but it's one Saturday a month or whatever it is. When you know this, you can actually call it in and actually make it happen. So, another question to really dig in on is what support helps you take action? Because when you think about that success that you reached, you probably had some level of support from something. Maybe it's tools, maybe it's a person, maybe it's whatever it is. Like, what kind of support do you need? Now, I have a few lists here, and I forgot one on here, and that is tools and technology. So I should add this to the screen. But friends and family, and who I call biz besties, are my business friends. So my friends who also own businesses. Those are really important. Do you have a coach? Do you need a mentor? All of those things. What type of support do you need to actually get to the success level that you want? And then, so once you've defined success for yourself and you've got this new motto of done is better than perfect, and I want you to stop and just revel in the idea that action uncovers confidence. It's not the other way around. If you are waiting for confidence to just be present automatically, it's not going to show up. This is what happens all the time. We wait to feel confident in order to take action, and that's not the order it happens. We have to take action to uncover the confidence. And I know that this is easier said than done because action takes a lot of courage. But I want you to focus on that action so that you can feel confident. And our dear friend, Brene Brown. If you don't know Brene Brown, please look her up because she is one of the most inspiring people on the planet and very real. And she says this: the willingness to show up changes us, it makes us a little braver each time. I don't know about you, but I need to be braver all the time. When I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, I have to show up and be a little brave. And so the cool part about taking action is that it allows us to get braver each time. It takes less courage to take that action time after time after time. A great example of mine for this is that I was not super confident or comfortable on video when I first started my business. It wasn't the worst thing in the world for me. I'm not going to pretend that it was like completely debilitating, but it wasn't comfortable. And so I signed up for a 28-day video challenge and I had to go live on YouTube every day for 28 days. It was terrifying. I actually recently went back and looked at that first video and it is cringeworthy to say the least. But the thing is that every day for those 28 days, I got more and more brave. I got better at showing up on camera. Now I can show up on camera pretty simple. I can turn my phone around and get on Instagram stories or whatever pretty easily. I don't have to think about it. But if I go back 5 years and talk to the Amanda of 5 years ago, she would be like, "You can do that? What? Like, really? I can get there?" She would be shocked. And so that's where you are right now. You're at the beginning stages of finding that courage, finding that bravery, and uncovering that confidence. So now I want you to think about when you last felt confident in something. So I asked about success, and that is when you did something and felt the success after. I want you to think about confidence in terms of when did you feel confident before you took the action? It could be anything, life, business, whatever. Maybe you knew you could nail that back handspring, or you had no doubt that when you pulled out that sourdough bread, it was going to be perfect. Or when you hit that golf ball, you knew it was just a perfect swing. Now, I want you to think about what led to that confidence? Well, it was action, my friend. You were not born making perfect sourdough bread, swinging that golf club in a perfect way, or nailing that back handspring. You had to practice, you had to fall. And the same goes for entrepreneurship. You were not born knowing how to run a business. And it doesn't matter if you have a business degree or not. What matters is that you show up and take action, because action is going to lead to the confidence that then you can step into that real, true feeling of like, yes, I am the entrepreneur who has the life that I wanted to live. So, action allows you to uncover that inner confidence, the opportunity to learn. And oh my gosh, how awesome is that? I haven't met many yoga teachers, any entrepreneurs that are like, no, I hate learning. That's not you. Most of us love to learn. And so by taking action, we actually get the opportunity to learn. And my goodness, it breaks the guilt cycle. I don't know about you, but when I don't take action on something, and I then feel guilty for not taking that action, which most likely leads to me not taking action on something else or the same action. It's a cycle. We got to break it. And I don't want you feeling guilty about not pursuing your dream, not reaching for the success that you want. So, these are your next steps that I want you to take after listening today. I want you to define success for yourself. Really, truly define it for yourself. Now, this is going to take time. You may know it right now, but it may not come to you right away. And it definitely could change over time. So allow yourself the space to make those changes. When you define success today, it may be different 6 years from now. Knowing those boundaries that you need in order to achieve that success is huge. And then understanding how you work best so that you can tap into it when you need it. And also understanding what support you need so that you can ask for it when you need it, because we all need support. And then here's the hardest part of it all. I want you to pick just one single project or idea and start taking action on it. The hard part is just one, because once you get this fire, you're going to be like, I can do it all. Trust me, you'll want to do more and more and more, but it's better to just pick one thing at a time. So that's what I want you to focus on today and going forward. And now I get to answer questions. So I ended up not checking the chat. So I'm going to look at it now. But before I go and do that, I just want to tell you thank you for listening right now. And I can't wait to answer your questions. And you can find more information about me at amandamckinney.com. My podcast is Marketing Yoga with Confidence. And I love Instagram. So you can find me at the Amanda McKinney. And I have a very big announcement that I will be sharing on November 18th. So if you enjoyed the message that I shared today, you'll love the announcement that's coming on the 18th. So just a few days away, which I'm excited about. And then you can always use the code beYogi and get 20% off of all things in my shop. So if you go to amandamckinney.com/shop, you can then use that discount. So I've got templates and trainings on marketing that you can use at any time. So let me open up the chat since I did not have it open. And well, shoot, I can't figure out how to do that.
I can jump in there,
Okay.
Amanda. Yeah, let me pull it up. We actually didn't have too many questions. You were such on a roll that I think everyone was just so preoccupied with the content. So we have some time, and this
Yeah.
is your chance, attendees, to ask any specific questions, kind of any questions about the topics that we talked about today, exploring confidence to you. Oh, a few are rolling
Coming
in.
through. Awesome.
So Amanda, what would work better for me to ask you the questions, or would you like to read them? How would you like to do that?
Either way is fine.
All right. I can jump in there then.
Okay,
So
great.
Deborah asked, suggestions on tackling shiny object syndrome.
Ooh, that's a good one. Deborah, that's a fantastic question. And thank you for asking it. Every person is going to be different with this. But I would say the But the general idea that I would say is understanding where that comes in the most. So maybe I'm not trying to hate on social media because I think there's great things to social media and email and all different things, but figure out where that's coming from. Is it because you saw something on social media and you're like, oh, I have to try that? Well, maybe back off on the amount of time you're spending on social media. Same thing with email. There's a lot of people that I follow that I actually go on and off their email list because sometimes, like, I love what they teach, and not sometimes, I always love what they teach and I'm here for it and I'm ready for it. But when they send an email and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to buy that thing, or I need to be trying that thing because they said that's a good idea, I take myself off their email list and then I get back on it when I have more space or more um, ability to say no, right? Like there's different seasons. So that's what I would suggest is notice where it's coming in and then limit your interaction with whatever that is. Um, and then recognizing that everything that you say yes to, I want to tackle this new project. I want to try this new thing, or yes, I should do this new thing. Everything that you say yes to means you have to say no to something else. So it's going to come in. So is it worth saying yes to that thing? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So that's one thing. The other thing is I love to talk about having a list of ideas. So I talk about it often of like, put it on the shelf. Have a list of ideas that you want to do so that you always have it going. It doesn't mean you're not doing them ever. It just means you're not doing it right now. So have that list of things and just add it to the list. And then when you have space and availability to tackle a new project, pick one of those things.
Hmm, that's a good one. We got another one kind of similar to the shiny object syndrome. This is from Carissa.
Hmm.
She is asking for suggestions for doing business on social media without getting sucked in and spending more time consuming versus
Hmm.
creating.
Ooh, this is a good one. Carissa, right?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
Carissa, great question. Fantastic. So here's what I would suggest for you is that I want you to create more than you can consume. So asking yourself, like, oh, there's a few different ways you could do this. Creating your marketing plan is going to be first a great step. If you don't have one, simply write down how many times do I want to post on social media? How many times do I want to email my list? Whatever it is. And identifying, okay, I'm going to post on Instagram 3 times a week. I'm not giving everyone that prescription. I'm just saying that could be an idea 2, 3 times a week, whatever. You decide I'm going to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, then I want you to go into every single week with those posts actually created and scheduled before you consume any content. So until you have those scheduled, you're not allowed to look. Like Amanda said, you're not allowed to look at social media. And that in and of itself is going to be helpful because you will create before you consume, which means your content will be from you. When we consume so much information before we create, there's more of a chance of it being influenced by other people's content. So create before you consume is the rule of thumb. The other thing that you could ask yourself is when you pick up your phone, right? You pick up your phone and you scroll to the app, whatever your app is that is calling your name all the time. Mine's Instagram, right? Ask yourself before you open it, do I have time to engage with at least 3 people? Like genuine engagement. If the answer is no, put the dang phone down. Don't scroll for 2 minutes if you can't engage with 3 people. That's kind of the rule that I go with. If I open up Instagram, I have to engage with at least 3 people. Maybe I'll see something that beYogi or Offering Tree shares, and I'm like, oh, I could share that. Or, oh, Jessica asked me about that. I'm going to send Jessica Offering Trees post because it answers her question. Like that is how I would suggest engaging. Yeah, it can be commenting or sharing or whatever, but it can also be like, oh, I remember so and so asked about this. Like that's going to be huge when you do that for your people and you remember what they asked about and send it to them on Instagram. Massive. So asking yourself that will keep you in that habit of creating before consuming and really engaging with your audience. All of that is going to help you uncover that confidence by taking action of really being in touch with your audience. When you're in touch with your audience, when you know what success is for yourself, you have less chances of falling into that comparison black hole of despair, right? Like it's really hard to get out of when we get in there. So catching it really, you can set timers if that's helpful for you. Um, that's a, I mean, if you don't do that, that's something that can really blow your mind. If you look at how much time you spend on a social media platform and then adjusting accordingly. So just those are some tactical things, but I'd love to hear any thoughts you have for sure.
Mm. That was some really, really great recommendations, even for
Awesome.
someone, who doesn't own their own business. And sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I am scrolling on the beYogi Instagram,
Right.
looking at all of these awesome things that are going on. And I'm just,
Yes,
the time flies.
it
um,
does. It really does.
so another question came from Amy. She
Hmm.
asks, how do I enforce deadlines against myself? And to kind of go along these lines, Carly asks, um, you mentioned a project management tool. Can you please elaborate? So,
Sure
kind of
can.
similar in that
Yes.
sense.
Yeah, those are great. Thank you, Amy and Carly. Those are great questions. And the end all be all answer, in my opinion, when it comes to anything related to technology and systems is use what works for you. Period. It does not matter what works for me or Lizzie or Eddie or anyone else on this call. It matters what works for you. So just believe and move forward with that. That goes for technology as well as enforcing deadlines. So some people work, I typically can ask the question of like, does reward or punishment work better for you? And most people are like, duh, reward. But that's not the case. Like some people are really like motivated by punishment. So like for me, one example of this, I could go either way on that, but one example is that I have like my to-do list every single day of what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, which is very helpful for this. So you know what you're doing every single day, which is where that project management tool comes in handy, but you know what you're going to do. And so I have my priority of like, this is the top thing I have to get done. I am not allowed to open Instagram until that is done. So if you see me on Instagram in the morning, that means I had a good morning or I broke my own rule. Like it could go either way. But typically speaking, I don't allow myself to go on Instagram. There's several days, like I shouldn't say so, there's a lot of days that you won't see me on Instagram. And that means I'm heads down, I'm working, and I didn't get to be on Instagram stories that day. And that's okay. That's okay. It means I'm doing my work. It means I'm doing my work and getting it done. And so that works really well for me, is like the deadline focus. Um, some people are very rewarded by um, taking a long walk. That seems to work really well with a lot of people. Find what works for you in terms of enforcing a deadline. Now, a lot of people cannot do this for themselves. There's nothing wrong with you. It's actually the minority who can actually enforce deadlines for ourselves. We usually have to tell someone else. Sometimes that means a paid coach or course that you work through, or like whatever system works for you. It could also be a friend. That friend doesn't have to hold you accountable per se of like, did you send that email, Amanda? Like they don't have to ask you that, but simply telling them, hey, by the way, I have to get an email out today. So if I call you, ask me if I did it. Or like, like they don't have to know how you send it or what it was about or anything like that. Simply telling someone else is helpful. So you have to find what works for you. And what this might mean is that you test different things. So try one thing. And if you're like, well, shoot, that didn't work, I didn't get that done, try something else. Don't try the same thing again. That's not going to help anybody. So try something different, find what works for you. To go to the project management tool, um, again, you got to find what works for you. There's a lot of tools out there. The one that I have seen the majority of people use and work well in my line of work is actually called Asana. And I know I'm speaking to yoga teachers, a lot of yoga teachers who will say it's asana. I know it's a company and it's called Asana. So it is spelled the same, pronounced differently. That is the one that's worked really well for a lot of people. There's tons out there. There's Basecamp, there's Monday, there's Trello, there's ClickUp. I mean, you name it, there's going to be some more. Find one that works for you. There's lots of free options out there. Asana is one of them. I'm happy if Lizzie or Eddie wants to jump in on this for sure. But those are the ones that I have seen work very well. And basically, you have to be proactive with putting the deadlines in. Assign it to a day and then do your best to hold yourself to it. Also, know that you can't get everything done in a day. So, you're going to have to move things around. So, it'll take a while to get into the cadence and the rhythm. But that has worked. I mean, it has been remarkable for me. It's the only way that I'm doing as much as I'm doing in my business is because I don't have to remember. It just shows up and it tells me what to do. Do you two agree? I'm going to call you out and like ask us. I'm sure you both do it.
I use Basecamp, which is a very similar thing to your program. But yeah, it flashes at me, it sends me an email, but it is important you have to add in those specific tasks.
Mhm.
And to add on to that, what I've learned for myself, kind of just sharing what I've learned is these bigger tasks, say you want to create an offering or something, break it down. That's key to having deadlines is you're not going to get that one big deadline done in one day. It's going to take a long time. So break everything down step by step. I think that's huge. Let's see if there's any other
Oh,
questions.
I think Eddie, you're muted still.
I was just gonna add on to that. We use Jira. It's another one, but I would say that those programs that Amanda listed are great places to start. I think Trello particularly is really easy if you just want something to get something up and running in like 10 minutes. You can
Mhm.
probably do that with Trello. I don't have as much experience with the other ones, but no, this is all great stuff. Getting stuff done on time is one of my biggest challenges, but I really loved how you said celebrate the successes along the way. I think that's like so important. So
Mhm.
get some pool time, get some deck time with the wine and veggies. That's huge.
Yes, it's true. And to combine both of those things that you just said, one of the things that I have really learned to do in my business, which we didn't go into detail with today, is like setting 90-day goals and then breaking those down into things you want to do weekly and daily and that sort of thing. And then Lizzie, to elaborate on what you said, like breaking things down, here is a tip that has made a huge difference for me in terms of how I put something into the project management tool. This is like a nitty gritty detail that made a big difference. I actually always start the task name with an action and I put it all in caps. Write next week's email. And then the next task is schedule next week's email. And so the answer has to be yes or no. Did I do that? And what I found is that if I can start with the like write next week's email and a separate task is then schedule, I could do the writing one day and maybe the scheduling another day. But before I started to use that system, I would say like next week's email, right? Like there's no action there. And I would do half the project, but I couldn't check it off because the whole project wasn't done. Like it was really discombobulating. And so if someone were to ever look at my task list, they would be like, that is too many things, Amanda. But it's so minor. Like it is like teeny tiny task. So it looks like a really long list, but it's actually pretty doable because it's broken down into such small chunks.
Mhm. Love this little brainstorming session we're having.
Yeah, this is great.
We had a question from Doug. He kind of talks about Facebook is really not for him.
Mhm.
And really at the end of the kind of paragraph he writes, he says, are these, so he has 100 Zoom recordings from classes that he's done over his time.
Go, Doug.
You're right. Are these types of pre-recordings popular in today's market? That's the question.
First, I want to address the Facebook part. Doug, If you don't want to be on Facebook, you don't have to be on Facebook. Congratulations. I just gave you the permission that you probably felt you needed. You don't need it. We have to tap into whatever marketing works for us. Sure, maybe everyone told you or people have said, you got to have a Facebook group. That's the way to do things. That's the should. That's the shoulding that's happening. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Find other ways that work for you because then you can enjoy it. Marketing doesn't have to suck. Marketing can actually be very, very fun, but you have to find what's fun for you. So just enjoy that and run with that information. In terms of popularity of Zoom recordings, I'm going to take some liberties here because I don't know exactly what channels you're talking about, Doug. I would say if you're talking about putting them on YouTube, because usually that's where people go really quickly is like, should I just put them on YouTube? No, would be my answer because of this. People go to YouTube often for answers to something quickly. How to stretch. I have back pain, how to relieve back pain stretches. They want 5 minutes of quick answers because their freaking back hurts, right? Like that's the thing. So if you have chunks of your Zoom recordings that's like this 7 minutes actually really helps back pain. I'm really picking on back pain right now. It could be anything, but like this 7 minutes, like take that out. Sure. Put it, you can do that and put it on YouTube. Um, there's a lot that goes into YouTube marketing, but like, sure, you can do that. A whole hour of a class, I would not suggest that at all. First, because it's really long and people are probably not doing it. Two, in my opinion, and this is a general statement, so it doesn't work for everything, but I really encourage yoga teachers to only have the bits and pieces of marketing on YouTube and like the short stuff, and then you have people pay for the class stuff, the 1 hour class, the 2 hour workshop, those types of things. You need to be paid for that. I don't know if you believe that today, but I am here to tell you that you need to be paid for that time and that energy. So I encourage anything long like that to be a paid offering. Now, what you could do with those 100 recordings is package them up. Like maybe there's 10 of them that relate to back pain or 10 of them that relate to stress or whatever. Package those up and you can sell that package of recordings for sure. Like you could do those types of things. So you can use it for marketing. You can use it for paid offerings. There's a lot that you can do with it. I would say just get really strategic of who you want to work with. That's the biggest thing is like who you want to work with. And there might be some of those 100 videos that never see the light of day on your marketing or your offerings. And that's okay. It's okay for that to happen because we often have to let go of some of the content that we do create and just package up the stuff that we know will help people. Not that the other videos wouldn't, they helped people in the moment, but you might just have to let it go, which is sometimes really hard.
Mm. Yes, thank you, Amanda. And thank you everyone for all your questions. If you have any more, feel free to use the chat for the question feature. But I wanted to use the last few minutes to kind of reiterate some of these little offers and little things that we talked about earlier in this webinar before we began the topic. And I wanted to pass it back to Eddie a little bit to kind of give another little brief, not maybe an introduction, but like a little brief something about Offering Tree that would help yoga teachers. I know we get a lot of questions about websites and how to start from all of that. So I'd love for him, Eddie, if you want to share about that or anything else that you think that this audience could really find useful in Offering Tree.
Yeah, thanks, Lizzie. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I wanted to reference Doug's question and just do a shameless plug for Offering Tree that if you use Offering Tree, you can bundle all your videos and sell them with Offering Tree. But no, I mean, I think I think what Amanda said is spot on with the question there. I think you can think of how can you pull people in to be closer and closer to you, and using video could be one of the ways you can do that. Like you could offer one free video, and if they get a kind of sense of your teaching style, and then see if you can bring them in closer with more offers or and see if eventually they become like a recurring member and want to subscribe to you know, a membership that will provide them access to all the other videos, things like that. So but yeah, so just to go back to Offering Tree, if you're looking for an all-in-one platform that takes care of your videos and your website and your bookings and your email marketing and your client management, we're a very easy to use solution that won't give you a bunch of tech headaches. We love to be in relationships with our clients, so don't be shy, reach out, support@offeringtree.com. We love to have conversations. We love to hear, you know, what's hard for you, what do you need help with? And if we don't have it, we love to know about it because we're always looking for things to build next. And just a quick plug, we are going to be launching a very exciting update later this month, beginning of next month with our website builder. So a lot more possibilities coming there. So stay tuned. But this was great. I really loved the webinar. I took away a lot of things. I also, you know, have to say I'm a founder. I'm a business owner, and it's easy to beat yourself up and feel that imposter syndrome. And a lot of things that Amanda said were really great. So really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed being part of all this. Thank you guys.
Yeah, of course, Eddie. And just one last thing, if you are interested, it's offeringtree.com/beYogi, just for that discount. If you're interested, we'll send out this recording with all of these links and all of these things that we had talked about. But thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Eddie, for both being here on the beYogi webinar series. We hope to have you back soon. But yeah, we'll wrap it up. Amanda, if you have any last little things or plugs, feel free to jump in now. But everyone, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you so much. And that just warmed my heart so much, Eddie, when you said that. It's so I appreciate it so much because I think it's really easy for all of us to look out and see someone talking about something, including myself talking on this webinar, and think, oh, she's got it figured out. No, we don't. We're teaching because we're working through it. We're going through it. We're going to share that. And so if you ever find yourself scrolling or reading an email or whatever and thinking that someone already has it put together and they figured everything out, they don't. And so just remember that. I think it's important to remember that. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions. And I just appreciate it. So thank you, beYogi. Thank you, Offering Tree.